Hello and welcome to no, that's not the right intro. Hello and welcome to the 2019-2020 Barclays Premier League. I don't even know. No, it's predictions for 10 years ago. Guaranteed to nail that. Yeah, what a fantastic start to the live stream. Anyway, I'm joined by Snake, who is also with me for Championship predictions, and yeah, it should be pretty good. We're in a little bit of a rush because we're both running late, and the first Premier League game kicks off in less than an hour. So, you know, really prepared and all that, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously tonight's game is between Liverpool and Norwich. Should be quite an interesting game. Yeah, we've got 20 teams to go through, and doing it slightly differently to the Championship ones. We're not going in alphabetical order because that seems incredibly, well, I don't know, just with the way the Premier League
Sorry,
is.
Arsenal.
Yeah, sorry Arsenal. It's the only time you'll be top. I'm sure people would probably say the same about Barnsley in the Championship, but yeah, we'll get started. We're gonna start with the three newly promoted teams and go from there. I'm just gonna get the team up on my FIFA screen here. So I'll start for you, Steak. Just a quick thing. Are you looking forward to the Premier League this season?
Honestly, I'm hoping it'll at least be a two-horse race again this year between two certain teams. Well, I think the top six will probably be predictable again, but that's the problem I have with the Premier League at the moment. It's not really surprising, where it feels like with the Championship it's a lot more competitive and it's really close between the teams. So I'd say no in all honesty, but I'm hoping there'll be some good games.
Absolutely, I agree. And I do like the look of some of the teams this year. I feel like there's the teams that are going to be very entertaining to watch. We'll get on to who we
I
think.
think that like the relegation battle will be a lot more interesting than say who's going to be in the top 5 or 6.
Absolutely, and I actually think
I'd be more focused on that.
I think the three newly promoted teams are in decent shape. We'll say where we think they're going to go, but I do think they're in decent shape coming into the season. I think they'll do well. So we'll start off with the first of the newly promoted teams. We'll start off with a team that won the Championship playoff final in May, and that was Aston Villa. It's fair to say Aston Villa probably had the busiest summer out of all the clubs in England. They've made about 15 signings. They've spent about £150 million. Now, the team
How
that
many
did...
players do they have?
They have quite a few. They're the Premier League
Right.
version of Nottingham Forest. That puts it into some context. They have sold a few, though, as well, so they have trimmed down their squad a little bit. But it is still quite a hefty squad, and it's going to be a tough task for Dean Smith to keep all the players happy, because there's guaranteed that some players aren't going to get the game time they're hoping for. Now they've spent a bit of money on making some of the loan signings they had last year permanent, so it's not all new players. They made I think it was Courtney House, Tyrone Mings, and El Ghazi have been made into permanent signings. Their big signings: the striker Wesley from the Belgian league, Tom Heaton from Burnley is a very proven Premier League goalkeeper. Now, there's been a lot of comparisons drawn between them and Fulham, because obviously Fulham last year did similar. They spent a lot of money, and ultimately it didn't work out. My question to you is this: do you feel like Villa are going to be another Fulham, or do you feel that their money spent is actually going to reap them some rewards?
Made a lot of changes. I think, in all honesty, that Aston Villa seem to have a lot of money to throw away, and yeah, I think they'll be fine. I don't see them getting into trouble, but I don't see them skyrocketing up into a very good position at the top. Do you want to know where I've put them in the table, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, wherever you put them.
I put them in 16th.
Oh god, not again. I say not again because, believe it or not, I've also put them in 16.
Yeah.
No, I do think they've made some good signings. I think unlike Fulham, they have actually added a bit of quality into their team. I think the Belgian striker Wesley's a very good purchase. I like the fact that they've made some of the loan signings permanent. I think that's a good sign of continuity. And you could tell I'm a Barnsley fan when I say this, but I feel like Conor Hourihane is going to do a very good job in the Premier League. And I think their midfield in general... Is he an
ex-Barnsley player?
No, he's an ex-Barnsley captain.
Ex-Barnsley captain. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh. I think their midfield in general looks very good. They've signed McGinn to a new contract. Jack Grealish, although I don't rate him as highly as other people do, I think he'll be a good player in the Premier League. The players they've lost, I don't think are going to be big misses for them. I think the biggest player they've sold is Adoma, but I don't think... I'm not sure, to be fair, if he would be able to step up to Premier League level anyway. So... I mean, he's a good Championship player. So yeah, I think they'll be. I think he'll be alright. However, I do think it's going to be very close down there. The only reason I've not put them any higher than 16th before Villa fans, because I think a lot of Villa fans feel like they could push to mid-table. The only reason I haven't put them higher is because I feel like it's going to take a while for the new players to gel, and I think they may start quite slowly. But I think overall, I think they'll be fine. The next team, this is the one I think divides a lot of opinion. A lot of people do think they're going to finish bottom and don't give them much of a chance. Other people think they'll put up a good fight of it. It's Sheffield United, who got promoted in second place. They've made some good signings. I think the addition of Oliver McBurney, who is ex-Barnsley, in a £20 million deal from Swansea. I think that's a striker that's going to add goals to their team. They've also signed Phil Jagielka, who is very experienced. There's question marks over whether he still has what it takes to perform at Premier League level, but he obviously played for Sheffield United over a decade ago, and he'll add experience into that backline, which I think is needed. They've added some good players as well, in the likes of Robinson from Preston, Besic from Everton. Overall, I think they have bolstered the squad. A lot of people question whether they have the Premier League ability in the squad to stay up. What do you think, Sheffield United?
I really love the team, and I try not to be biased towards them. But it is nice seeing them go through the divisions and performing very well the last few years. If you're a Sheffield United fan, I imagine you're very happy and have been happy for a while. A lot of people are against Sheffield United in the Premier League. I'm seeing a lot of people with their predictions with them being stone dead last. I feel that's a bit harsh. Although with my prediction, maybe I'm a bit too nice, but I'm going to go with it anyway. I've put them in 13th place at the table.
Whew, wow. No, I totally see where you're coming from though. I think for me, when last season I believed Chris Wilder was the best manager in the Football League.
I just don't think anyone expected Sheffield United to get this far, which is why I'm expecting them to do the unexpected and finish pretty high in the table.
Well, it's a good point. Let's not forget 4 or 5 years ago when Bournemouth got into the Premier League, no one gave them a chance. And yet, here they are 5 years later, still in the Premier League, still pretty comfortable.
Yeah, when they got promoted into the Championship, I don't think anyone expected them to even get promoted to the Premier League or even close to that, and yet here they are. So
I agree, and I think they've got a really unorthodox style of Sheffield United. They play a sort of a 3-4-1-2 where the centre backs join in with the attack. It's a very interesting style, and they had the best defence in the Championship last season, which I think if you are going to stay up in the Premier League, you need a good defence, and I think they have got that. I haven't been quite as generous to them as you have, but I have backed them to stay up in 17th. So I'm going for it to be very close.
Not far
but
off them.
no, I see them just about surviving. It's going to be very close. The fact we've already gone for 2 of the newly promoted teams to survive just shows, I think, how strong they are coming into this year. The question is, will it be a full house? Because now we're going to move on to Norwich, who of course play tonight in their opening Premier League game. been thrown right into the fire, you've got to say, going up against Liverpool at Anfield. But
Good start.
yeah, I suppose it gets it out of the way, I suppose. Now, Norwich, for me, in the Championship last year, the champions, of course, were complete opposite of Sheffield United. They did not have the best defence. They conceded 57 goals. However, they scored 93. So, the games are guaranteed entertainment, I think. I'm definitely excited to see them in the Premier League. Daniel Farke, the German manager's done a great job there. We didn't expect them to be anywhere near. Well, we didn't expect them to be in the Premier League, let's put it this way, 12 months ago. They were quite inconsistent when he first joined, but he's clearly built something very good there. In terms of the summer they've had, I think they've made some excellent additions. They've brought in experienced Champions League goalkeeper Ralph Fährmann from Schalke. They've brought in Dermich, who's very well proven in the Bundesliga as well. You can tell they've got a German manager with the Bundesliga signings they've been making. Yeah, they're missing a few players tonight, but I don't think a game away at Liverpool is going to decide their season. Let's put it that way. Where have you put Norwich? Do you think they're going to build on from last season, or do you think their defence is going to cost them?
I think, yes, they've scored a lot of goals, but they're entering the Premier League now, and there's a lot of Premier League teams who have got a solid defence, especially, the big clubs. So I think they will struggle with that. They'll need to work on the defence. Otherwise, I could easily see them getting relegated, I think. But I'm going to back them. I think they're going to sort it and they'll finish in 17th.
Which means you backed all three newly promoted teams to stay up, which is a real testament to how strong they are. It's weird actually, because you put Sheffield United in 13th and Norwich in 17th. I've done the opposite. I've put Sheffield United in 17th and Norwich in 13th.
Yeah. Although I have put Villa and Norwich very close to relegation, so that doesn't necessarily mean I could easily see them both being demoted on the final day or something. It could be close.
Absolutely. I don't know. I really like this Norwich team and the way they play. I know their defence is going to be a problem, but I don't know. I just feel like if they
can sort that out, then I think they could do very well potentially. But I don't think it will be that great. So they'll just hang on in there, I think.
The key for them is how Timo Pukki, the top goal scorer in the Championship last season, 29 goals. How he responds to playing the Premier League is unproven at this level. If he can be the goal scorer for them, I think they've definitely got the ability. I've put them 13th, but I genuinely think they're going to do well. I really like their team. Again, it might be a bit like for you with Sheffield United. It might be a little bit of bias coming in just because I like the team and the way they play.
Possibly, yeah.
But I fancy them to do well, and I've got to say, all three newly promoted teams really excite me coming into this season. I think they could really shake it up in the Premier League, not to the extent of crashing the Big Six or anything like that, but yeah, I think they could do very well, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do. So now we'll move on to the teams that obviously we feel like are going to be outside the top six. Well, pending what Snake thinks. But we're going to start going alphabetical order from here on in. So we're going to start with Bournemouth, the team we mentioned earlier, actually, when rating Sheffield United's chances of surviving. Bournemouth have made some very interesting signings. I feel their team is definitely stronger, and I'm not going to lie, I've literally just forgotten who they've actually signed. Now I've said that. So they've signed a very talented Liverpool winger, Harry Wilson, on loan. He scored 15 goals last year in the Championship for Derby. They've made some good additions as well in defence, which I think was an area that needed to strengthen. I think the biggest factor with Bournemouth for me is their manager, Eddie Howe. A bit like Chris Wilder at Sheffield United, I think he's done an outstanding job rising them through the leagues. Their stadium is tiny compared to a lot of Premier League teams, but it generates a good atmosphere, and I don't see Bournemouth being in trouble this season either. I've got to be honest. I think they're going to be fine again. They're a bit like Norwich. I think they're a very entertaining team to watch. They'll win a lot of games. with a lot of goals in it, but they'll also concede quite a few. But overall, I think they'll be fine, and I have put them 12th. What about you?
Well, Bournemouth fans, you probably want to look away or
Oh,
shut your ears. You have given them an awful lot of praise, and I don't feel the same way about that.
oh,
I think they will get relegated. I've put them in 18th.
oh! Wow! What's the reasoning? What do you think they're lacking?
It's just, but Bournemouth, they've done well in previous seasons. It's just for me, they haven't really got. There's no players that stand out for me for Bournemouth. Whereas usually in the Premier League, you're like, oh yeah, that's a quality striker, midfielder, whatever. It's just, it doesn't stand out for me, and I think they'll struggle. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I'm going for.
Fair enough. I definitely do see weaknesses in a team like that. I do still worry about the defense at times, and they have a habit
I
of.
don't think there's a good enough quality. I mean, like all the players in the Premier League, most of them I don't have a problem with, and they're really good. But I just don't think they're as good as other teams with their players.
Even with your career mode legend Fraser out wide.
Yeah, I think they rate him a bit more highly on that FIFA game, but yeah.
Fair enough. I get what you mean, Bournemouth as well. Like they do. Their one weakness for me is they have a habit of going on really terrifying losing runs, and if they don't regain that confidence after a losing run, it could spell trouble for them.
They have had bad moments in the Premier League, for sure.
It really could go either way with Bournemouth. They are very unpredictable. So it'd be interesting to see how they get on. So you put them 18th, I've put them 12th. It's nice that we disagree. It'll be interesting to see how they get on.
I was one of the tougher teams where to put them in the table.
Yeah, and
I pull them. I ain't got a clue where to put them.
Yeah. And I believe this next team is another tough team to place. It's Brighton. Brighton,
yes.
Now, they've sacked Chris Hughton at the end of last season. Now, very controversial. Chris Hughton obviously led them into the Premier League, led them to safety. I think the criticism was that he didn't play a very entertaining style of football. I mean, we watched a bit of the FA Cup semi-final against Man City last season, and you sort of knew as soon as City scored that was kind of it, because Brighton's plan from minute one was to defend. and I
do. You want to criticise any team for boring football? I'd put Birmingham up there. I'm sorry.
For Championship, yeah, definitely. I mean, they won their first Championship game with one shot in the whole game. Kind of sums Birmingham up, really. But yeah, Brighton, they've made some interesting signings. They've signed a Brentford striker, Neil Maupay, who was really prolific in the Championship last season, and a Bristol City defender, Adam Webster. Two very good players at Championship level. Can they make the step up to the Premier League? That's a big question. Brighton's main talisman is Glenn Murray. He's 37 years old now. It's a big question mark over will he still be able to provide them with the goals. They've obviously replaced Chris Hughton with Graham Potter, who plays a much more attractive style of football. But as we saw with him in charge of Swansea last season, they got caught out a few times doing that. Brighton have made a gamble making this managerial change. There's no doubt about it. My question to you is, do you think it will pay off?
Yeah, it's another team, tough to place where to go. So I've kind of gone with a gamble myself. I think they'll do pretty well. With what they've got, I've put them in 14th. I think that's pretty good with what they have. So if I was a Brighton fan, placing them in that spot, I wouldn't be disappointed, I'd imagine. So yeah, 14th.
Now, from what I hear from Brighton fans, it's pretty much the same as the other seasons. They've been in the Premier League with priorities, obviously, to stay in the division. So I think they would definitely take 14th. Now, I've got to admit, when I saw the news about Chris Hughton being sacked, I was pretty outraged. I thought it was very harsh. I get what Brighton are trying to do. I get that they're trying to play more attractive style football, but we've seen this before with teams where they think, this manager plays it too boring. I want to entertain the fans, and it backfires. I've got to be honest. I feel like this is going to be one of those times. I've put them 18th. They are my first team in my relegation zone. Sorry, Brighton fans, but I just don't see. I don't see where the goals are going to come from. Neil Maupay is going to. I just don't think he's going to adapt to the Premier League straight away. I think Glenn Murray's getting on a bit. I think in defence they look good, but I'd worry that this expansive style of football could affect that, and I don't know if I've got the players to play that style. So yeah, I've put them 18th. Sorry, Brighton. We'll do is, since there's a guy in the comments asking about Newcastle, we'll actually move to Newcastle next, just for him. Although I'm not sure he's going to like what I'm going to say, but so Newcastle have had, as usual with it at St James's Park, they've had a very eventful summer. More promises from owner Mike Ashley that he's going to sell. Once again, he hasn't. Rafa Benitez decided that he's had enough. You know, he stuck with Newcastle for a few seasons. They never backed him, and he decided that was enough. He's gone to the Chinese Super League, which is an odd move.
A lot of Newcastle fans were disappointed with that as well.
Yeah, he was considered a hero in those parts. He really was, and I can see why. My issue isn't with the fact Rafa Benitez has gone. My issue is with the fact of who they've replaced him with. Steve Bruce is an interesting appointment, to say the least. Sacked by Villa when they weren't doing very well, and let's be honest, as soon as he was sacked by Villa, they brought in Dean Smith and got promoted. Doesn't exactly bode well for Steve Bruce. He was at Sheffield Wednesday after that, let's be honest. He wasn't really at Wednesday long enough for us to judge.
Yeah.
Before he took the Newcastle job. He's one of those managers, I put him in the same bracket as Moyes, Pardew, as a few others as well, that just seem to keep getting jobs based off of their reputation.
I agree with that, yeah, definitely.
I worry about Newcastle this season. They have splashed out a record transfer fee on Hoffenheim striker Joe Linton. They've also brought in very exciting French winger Saint-Maximin. But at the same time, they've also lost Jose Perez and Solomon Rondon, who provided them with a majority of their goals last year. I've not sounded too optimistic here. What about you? Are you any more optimistic about Newcastle's hopes this season?
No. I agree with you. It's like Rafa Benitez, getting rid of him, I don't understand why. And the replacement is a lot worse. Steve Bruce, at best, he's an average manager for me. He always seems to be managing a team that always seems to be in trouble, and most of the time they end up in the shit, really. They end up getting relegated. So I have zero confidence for Newcastle. I've put them in 19th. So I haven't put them dead last. That's the only positive I can give them. If Rafa was still there, I'd go, yeah, they'll be fine.
Mid-table.
But, yeah. Well, I definitely wouldn't see them relegated, but it's such an odd decision.
Well, I think it was. Yeah. I don't think they got rid of Rafa as much as he chose to leave. But even so, they should have done a lot more to keep him. They clearly didn't give him the promises in the transfer window that he was looking for.
Yeah. Well, I think they were a bit too stubborn. I think it was due to money, wasn't it? Really.
Well, they never backed him with money, and Mike Ashley, I'm sorry, but he seems like he just says he's going to sell the club every time the fans get annoyed. I think it's empty promises, frankly, on his behalf.
Yeah, although they didn't really get rid of him, I think they were happy to see him go if they weren't going to listen to his rules. So, you know. Well, I want to build the club, I want more money. No! We like our money!
Yeah, you've got to admit, Mike Ashley's a good businessman. He knows how to pocket the money, that's for sure. Well, you said you're only positive, but you didn't put them bottom. I'm going to remove that positive right now and say I have put Newcastle 20th.
Ouch! Wow. I'm the kind person out of the situation.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't a good idea to ask the Newcastle fan no predictions, but Well, he put win the league. I don't think he was being serious. Imagine Steve Bruce lifting the Premier League trophy. I can't even picture that in my head.
I think their best hope is it's not just the manager as well. I think they need to spend more money, and they'll need a quick managerial change as well, which will probably happen over Christmas. But
that's
they need to do that. If not, I don't see any chance of them staying.
That's, for me, I agree. It's their one hope that they realise the mistake they made with Steve Bruce early enough and get rid, and hopefully bring in somebody who's capable. Yeah. I just don't trust him, Mike Ashley, to do that, which is why I've put them bottom. I think even if he does sack Steve Bruce, I question who he's going to replace him with. I also worry that they've sold Perez and obviously lost Rondon, who was on loan last year. That provided them with a lot of their goals, and I just don't know if the new signings are going to be good enough to produce those amount of goals that they're going to need. So yeah, I'm sorry, Newcastle fans, I've put you bottom.
Well, that managerial change probably affected the transfer market for them as well.
Well, yeah. Well, let's be honest. If you're a player and you said you want to sign for a team managed by Rafa Benitez or Steve Bruce, who in the right mind's going to say Steve Bruce?
Benitez has a better and bigger reputation than Steve Bruce does over the past 10 years.
Well, let's not forget, in 2005, Benitez won a Champions League with Liverpool.
Well, that's it, exactly. Steve Bruce has never done anything like that.
No, he's won Premier League, rushed to Premier League once or twice, but yeah, you always wonder.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. So we now move on to, for me, I think he's one of the most underrated managers in England. Sean Dyche's Burnley is the next team we're going to preview. I've got to be honest, I really do admire the job he's done there. Let's be honest, they're probably one of the most boring teams to watch in the Premier League. I'm not even going to contest that. But that's the style of football that works for them, and that's the style of football that's kept them in the Premier League for the last few seasons. And of course, let's not forget, a few seasons ago, they finished in the Europa League spots. They really did a great job. Now, I've got to be honest, I was a little bit worried for Burnley. But they've made a couple of signings that have rejigged my opinion. They've brought in Jay Rodriguez back from West Brom, who I think will score a good amount of goals for them. He's a good team player. And they've also brought in Danny Drinkwater from Chelsea. And let's not forget, Danny Drinkwater was part of a Leicester City midfield that won the Premier League. And he fits into Burnley's philosophy, to work hard, the determination. I think they're going to be alright again. I don't think they're going to do amazingly well, but I think they're going to be fine. I've put them 15th. What about you?
So Burnley have had, one thing that impresses me with Burnley is that they've had an amazing home record the past couple of years, which I think is the main reason why they've stayed in the Premier League for so long. Although it's just mostly a feeling, but again, it's the quality of the players they've got in the squad compared to all the other players. Those recent signings that you mentioned, yeah, that could probably help them. The team needs to gel very quickly, obviously. I'm sorry, but
you put a bottom, haven't you?
Last. Yeah.
Oh, their fairy tale run in the Premier League going to come to an end. I think the good thing is that Burnley went down under Sean Dyche before, and I think they've got very good people in running that club. And they understand that they're probably overperforming, and that Sean Dyche is doing an incredible job. So I think even if they did finish bottom, I couldn't see him being sacked.
I think it's just one of those years in the Premier League where there's a lot of quality teams in there. There isn't many teams in there I'd go, yeah, they don't deserve to be in the Premier League. They're more like a championship team. There are a lot of good teams this year, I think, in the Premier League.
Yeah, and they have lost Tom Heaton as well, who was their standout goalkeeper. And I do worry as well that Burnley are feeling that Joe Hart is their number one goalkeeper. I'm sorry, but he's not Premier League standard. If Nick Pope is their if Nick Pope is their first choice goalkeeper this season, I've put him 15th based off of that. If they go with Joe Hart, I could see them being in a bit more trouble. So it is based down to that, really. You know what you're going to get with Burnley. It's just a question of if they've got enough, if the hard work and determination is going to be enough to keep them in the league. Their home record, as you touched on, is going to be pivotal.
Yeah, they need to make sure they keep up with their home record. If they don't, I can easily see them getting relegated. I'm backing that they won't have a good home record this year.
Let's move on to a team who I've seen a lot of people put them in their drop zone. It's Crystal Palace. Now, of course, managed by Roy Hodgson, who is into his 70s now. You've got to say, his longevity in management has been incredible. And he's done well to bounce back from, let's be honest, was a fairly disastrous time in charge of England. He's done a good job with Palace, I feel. Their transfer window has been underwhelming, to say the least. The most important thing for them is they kept hold of Wilfried Zaha, who was their key player last year by a country mile. The question remains, is Zaha happy to still be at Palace? There's a lot of rumours that he's annoyed that the club didn't let him leave. Their big transfer signing this summer was Gary Cahill, who's coming on a free transfer from Chelsea. The question is he still up to it? Is he still up to Premier League standard? He's getting on now. A few years ago, he'd have said that would be an amazing signing for Palace. Now, question marks. Apart from that, they haven't really made any big signings. A lot of the responsibility for goals is going to fall on the shoulders of Benteke, who has had inconsistency of late. Where have you put Palace? I mean, I think you've done all your 3 relegation spots now, actually, so I'm guessing you put Palace to stay up, based off of that.
Yeah, I've done more than that, I think. I'd rate Roy Hodgson. Yeah, he was a terrible manager for England, but it is a very tough job managing England, and there's a lot of managers that have managed England that have got a bad reputation out of it. I felt like he was one of the ones where he kind of struggled with the job, and because there's a lot of pressure for the England team, like a ton of pressure, more than most Premier League clubs, really. So it's I think they will do a fantastic job, and I've put them in 11th.
Ooh, very, very nice. Palace fans, it's time to stop listening. I have a relegation.
Well, I'm being positive, so let's hear the negatives.
Yeah, I have a relegation spot left, and I'm afraid 19th place is where I have put Crystal Palace.
Wow. Wow.
I just don't rate the signings they made. I think Cahill's past it. I like the fact they kept Zaha, but I question how happy and motivated he's going to be to play for them. I don't see where the goals are going to come from. I think Benteke is... I don't know, he just doesn't seem to score enough for my liking, and I really feel they needed to strengthen this summer, and I just don't think they have. I think, if anything, they're actually a weaker team than what they were this time last year. I like Roy Hodgson, but I don't know, I have question marks. And like I say, I think the Premier League's stronger this season, and for that reason,
It is, yeah.
I think Palace for me are just lacking 1 or 2 players to really lift them up. I think they needed a striker. I think they needed to replace Wan-Bissaka, who left for Man United at right back. I don't think they've done that either. So yeah, for that reason, I've put Palace to go down. I am sorry, but yeah, my bottom 3 is Brighton, Crystal Palace, and Newcastle. I believe yours is Burnley, Bournemouth, and
from
Newcastle.
20th to 18th, Burnley, Newcastle, and Bournemouth.
And mine is Newcastle, Palace, and Brighton. We both backed all 3 new promoted teams to stay up, and we've gone with 2 different teams in the drop zone.
Yeah, with Crystal Palace though, I'm mainly backing the manager for them to do well. So it's all down to Roy, really, of where they're going to finish, I think, for the most part. They need to be a good team as well. Obviously, the players need to do well also. But if they don't have that team spirit, I can understand why you'd think they'll really struggle.
Yeah, it's another one of those teams that you really could go either way. A team that I personally think is a lot easier to predict is up next. We've got Leicester City. Well, Brendan Rodgers' first full season in charge of Leicester this time around. Obviously, they've still got Jamie Vardy up top. He's going to be the main reliance for goals. They did sell Harry Maguire to Manchester United towards the end of the transfer window. Pocketed a nice £80 million from that deal. I think they've made some good additions. I think Tillemans is a great permanent signing. He was brilliant when he came in on loan. They've made a few other good additions as well. Um, James Justin from Luton Town's a very good, promising right back. I think Leicester will be fine. I think they were really good last year, finished in the top half. I back them to do so again. I've put them ninth. I don't think they'll have any problems at all. And I think it's going to be a decent season for the Foxes. What do you think?
Okay. Not quite as optimistic as you are, but I still think, yeah, Leicester is still a solid side. Obviously, being a Leicester fan, they would have been very happy these past 5 years or so. I've put them in 12.
Okay. I spoke to a Leicester fan who thinks they can finish in top 7, but I think that's a little bit optimistic. Maybe wishful thinking on their part, but I think they're going to be a good team. I think a lot's for me is going to depend on Jamie Vardy. Let's not forget he is getting on a little bit now, and one of the key elements to Vardy's game is his pace. So, and I do think they are still over relying on him a little bit for goals.
Yeah. If you're talking back in the days where they won the Premier League title and no one expected it, sort of thing, that Jamie Vardy was fantastic that season, and then a couple of seasons after that. But I don't think he is the player he used to be. He's not as good as he was.
Yeah, they brought in Jose Perez, but he's the sort of person who plays behind a striker. He wouldn't be the focal point. I think he'll get goals, but I still think Vardy's the main out-and-out striker for them. A lot's going to depend on him, but I do believe they'll finish 9th, and so you've gone for 12, so not too different there, but be interested to see how they do. And I think again they're another team that's good to watch. Next team up is Southampton. Southampton's a weird one. I think their transfer business this window has been a little bit underwhelming. I think they've brought a few decent players in without doing anything crazy. I really do rate the manager that came in last season, Ralph Hasenhüttl. I have no idea if I've pronounced that right, but the former Dortmund manager or Dortmund coach.
That's to say that's how you pronounce it.
I think like a lot of German managers we see, like Klopp, Farke, the Barnes manager Daniel Stendel, they play really exciting, entertaining football, and they're good sides to watch. I think the similar thing with Southampton. I think the signing of Che Adams from Birmingham is a very good addition up front. He's Birmingham's top goal scorer, which isn't easy in a team that scores like 2 goals a year. I think Southampton will do well. I think they'll progress from last year, where they did struggle a bit until Hasenhüttl came in. Again, shit pronunciation. I've gone for Southampton to finish 11th. What about you?
Okay. This might be because I don't like watching Southampton. To me, they're a very boring side. But they do get results. So I have backed them to, obviously I've backed them to stay in the Premier League. But just about, I've put them in 15th.
Oh, okay. Again, it's another team that
will be relatively safe, but not so far in front of the bottom 3.
I just realised how close we are to kick off in the Liverpool game. I assume it kicked off at 8. Let me just double check. Yeah, it did kick off at 8. We haven't got too many more teams to go through, to be fair, through the midfield part of the table. I think we've only got 2 teams to go for. No, 3 actually. So we move on to the next team quickly, which is Watford. A very good season for them, I thought, last season. They reached the FA Cup final, which for a team like Watford, I think is a fantastic achievement. They've stuck with a manager for the first time in about 6 seasons, which shows, I think, how well they did. A lot of the success was built on the partnership of Dale Lefeu, the pace of him, and Deeney up front. I think they'll be very good again. I don't think Watford have strengthened as much as they wanted. A big summer signing was a free signing of Danny Welbeck from Arsenal. Someone who's had a lot of injury issues in recent years, and getting him fit will be key. If they can get him fit and scoring goals, I think they'll be in for a very good season. I just doubt whether that's going to be the case, and for that reason, obviously they're not going down. But I've put them in 14th. What about you?
Okay. I think I haven't heard many transfers, really. But I think this is what's helping Watford. Their most team success usually is with their consistency and sticking with the manager, sticking with pretty much the same squad or a similar squad. I feel like they could have made a couple of changes, but apart from that, I think they'll do very well. I've put them in 10th.
Okay, that's very fair. What do you make of the Danny Welbeck signing? To have interest.
I feel like he's a very inconsistent player from when I've watched him over the years. When he plays well, he can play very well, but I just don't think it's well enough. He'll have probably good days, but you just don't know with him, in all honesty. That's what I get from him.
Okay, and I mean, I guess the thing is, do you think it's worth a gamble from Watford bringing in someone like Welbeck?
To be honest, I won't pick him as a first team player, but like, say in the second half, if they're behind, yeah, let's put Danny Welbeck on, see what he can do. I think he's good with that. I think he's good for coming on in the second half and changing up the squad a bit. Whether they'll do that, I don't know if they'll pick him for, first team choice. I don't know, but that's what I would do.
Now we've mentioned a few. Well, I've mentioned a few ex-Barnsley players. I think it's only right that we do the opposite side of a coin with this next team. Let's move on to West Ham, featuring Michail Antonio, one of your favourite Forest players in recent years.
Yes, and probably the biggest disappointment when I heard the news that he was leaving Forest in a long time.
He arguably had his best season in a West Ham shirt last season. He really contributed, I thought, really well to the team. It's been a summer of change for West Ham. They've obviously brought in record signing Sebastian Haller, I think I pronounced that right, from Frankfurt for £45 million, French striker, replacement for Marko Arnautovic, who's left for China. A good thing for West Ham, I think, because Arnautovic, I heard, was quite a disruptive influence in a dressing room. They've also brought in Spanish attacking midfielder Pablo Fornals, who's very highly rated. They've kept the likes of Felipe Anderson, Antonio, and Snodgrass, Declan Rice, who was I think, contributed to their having a relatively good season last time out. Obviously finished 10th last year. I don't know, I really like the look of the signings West Ham have made, and I just feel like they've got a really good balance in their squad now. Obviously, Pellegrini in charge, the former Premier League winner with Man City. I think they've got a good manager in there as well, and for that reason, I put West Ham in 8th. What about you?
I agree with you for the most part. Great quality players. I mean, Antonio, please come back. Yeah, Pellegrini. Yeah, he's a decent manager. I can see them doing very well. I've put them slightly higher than you have. I've put them in 7th.
I thought you were going to break them into that magical top 6 there for a second.
Not quite. Not quite.
I've got to be honest, I do apologise. When I was going alphabetical order, I completely missed out a team, so I should probably go back and do them now, actually. Do apologise. I'll make it up by shouting, Sigurdsson! It's Everton, who I've completely forgot about. I just realised that. Second season for Marco Silva in charge. Now, Everton have been very busy in transfer window. Brought in Juventus striker Moise Kean, very talented 19-year-old. Arsenal winger Alex Iwobi for 40 million. Very questionable deal. I'm not sure it's worth that much, but still gives them another option. They have lost very influential midfielder Idrissa Gueye to PSG. He will be tough to replace. But they have brought in Gomez, who we had on loan last year. I don't know about Everton, actually. I was mulling over this one for a while, because Everton have a habit of making a lot of signings and doing relatively little. I thought they had the best season in a while last time out. I don't know, I actually feel like their signings are going to gel, and I actually fancy them to build on last season. I put them 7th, actually. It's more of a gut feeling than any sort of real knowledge or, like stats to back me up. I just have a feeling Everton are going to have a really good season and be knocking on the door of the top 6. I've put them 7th. What about you?
Well, they did struggle for a while, pretty much not long after they lost Lukaku, and then they made some strange signings. Obviously, I don't rate Wayne Rooney that much. I don't think he played well at Everton. And they were a bit all over the place since, but I think they're rebuilding very well. I think one good thing about Everton is they seem to always build a pretty decent side for the most part, and they never seem to be a team that you think would struggle, but they never seem to struggle, and I think they'll do well. I've put them in 8th.
Okay. I think I know who that means. You've either put in 7th or breaking into the top 6, so we'll get into them very shortly. I think one thing for Everton as well is that they've got a good spine of a team. They've got Pickford in goal, who I rate very highly. Had a bit of an inconsistent season last season, but I think he's still a young keeper. Let's not forget that. I think he'll build on that this season. I think the likes of Sigurdsson and Richarlison, I think they're very good creative players. And that's not actually. I just remembered Everton went on a very good run at the back end of last season, including beating Chelsea, Arsenal, and Manchester United. So they're coming to this season in really good form, and for that reason, I really do fancy them to have a good season.
I think what helps Everton with their success is they're very good at keeping quality players. They don't seem to lose a lot of good quality players to bigger teams.
No, agreed. And they actually seem to be attracting better caliber of players now than what they have done for a while. And I think as well, although I have my opinions with Everton and particularly Liverpool fans, I think they're very good fans to have behind you when you're doing well. I think the atmosphere at Goodison Park is very good when the team is performing well, so I think that'll carry them far. We'll get on now to the final team outside of the top 6, as we call it, unless you have surprised me, and that is Wolves. Wolves are an interesting one, actually. They've made some good signings again this summer, mostly from abroad. Obviously, they have a lot of connections with the agent, who's very closely linked to Wolves, so it brings in a lot of Portuguese talent. They've also signed talented Milan striker Cutrone, along with a few other players that have just bolstered the squad slightly. They had a very good season last season, let's not forget. They finished 7th, which for a newly promoted team is pretty much unheard of, I would say. Obviously, they are backed substantially by a lot of money. They still don't know what colour they wear, but that's another issue. I couldn't leave that out there. Now, I'm gonna let you say your prediction first, because mine may be a little bit controversial. Where have you put Wolves? I'm assuming 7th or higher.
Well, I've put West Ham in 7th, so they're not 7th.
Oh yeah.
I think they'll finish relatively pretty much the same where they did last season. It's just I think that Everton and West Ham will do a better job than them. So I've put them in 9th. I think that's relatively a good place for Wolves. They've got a lot of money. They just need to have a better quality team, I feel. I feel like they've got a great team already, but if they want to progress and break into the top 6 if possible, they will need to sign world-class players.
They had a big weakness last year, and it was weird in a way because they performed very, very well against top teams. However, it's like, I don't know, they seem to struggle to motivate themselves against the struggling teams. Their record against teams towards the bottom was not good enough. If they're going to push towards where they want to be, which is the top 6, they're going to have to improve that record against the lower teams. They're going to have to find ways to motivate themselves. Because
I feel like if any team can break the top 6 this season, I'd back West Ham.
For me, I would personally back Everton. I've put Wolves 10th, and there is one simple reason why I've put them a little bit lower than I was thinking of putting them. There's a potential that they're going to be in the Europa League. Now, we all know the Europa League is it's a difficult competition to be in because they play on Thursday nights, which means it can lead to a lot of fatigue in the squad. And for me, Wolves' squad just is not big enough to juggle both the Europa League and the Premier League, and I feel like that could affect their Premier League form going into the season. I feel for me,
the best thing for them is to get eliminated early in the Europa League.
I could not agree more. And I'm not gonna lie, if they did get, if they weren't in the Europa League or they do get knocked out of the Europa League before the group stage, I'd probably put them 8th, to be honest. above West Ham, but because of that, I'm going to put them 10th. You know, I've got to be honest. I don't like Wolves mainly due to some of their fans, but I'm not going to be biased in this, and I do. I fancied them to finish outside the top 6, but in 10th place, which would be a good season. I think they'll do well in the Europa League, though. It'd be interesting to see how they get on there. Now we're on to the top 6 now, which, as we've seen by our predictions, is the 6 teams you'd expect. I'm going to do this slightly differently, in the fact that I'm going to ask us both to name who we've put 6 down to first, and we'll go one at a time. So here's the question, Snake. Okay. Who have you put in 6th and why?
I don't think this is going to be a huge surprise, but I've put Chelsea in 6th. I think the fact that they can't make any signings, any transfers, is going to affect them massively. So that's pretty much the reason, really. So,
do you worry about Frank Lampard as well in his first season in charge?
I think that's a problem also. Although I think he's a bit overrated at the moment as the manager. When he managed Derby, he did an average job. I don't think he did badly. I don't think he did very well. It was an average performance for a manager for a first season. So he could struggle potentially. I think he'll do okay, but I think it'll probably be another average performance. It's probably where you'd expect him to be, considering their punishment.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I've left the screen on Chelsea on my FIFA because I've also put them in 6th.
Yeah.
There's a few reasons for me. Now, I've got to admit, there's one thing that excites me about Chelsea this season is that they're finally going to give a lot of their youngsters a chance. Mainly because they have to. They can't sign anyone, so they have no choice. But there's a few good youngsters at Chelsea I'm really looking forward to seeing. Loftus-Cheek, very impressive when he's played for England, I found. Hudson-Odoi is a very talented winger. Mason Mount had a very good loan spell at Derby, and I think Lampard's going to want to utilise him in the first team squad this year. However, they've lost Eden Hazard.
Yeah, that's a big miss.
Losing play of him and not really having the ability to bring in someone in, that's going to really cost them. They have got Pulisic, who signed from Dortmund last season, who finally gets to play for them, but I don't think he's anywhere near up to the standard of Hazard. They also sold David Luiz on transfer deadline day. Now, he's a defender that divides opinion, but I think with the players that Chelsea had and the lack of options they had, I think it was really unwise to sell him. I don't really understand that. And to sell him to Arsenal, who, let's be honest, are Chelsea's competitors this season for a top 4 place, I don't really understand that. And I just don't.
I love watching Chelsea. They play pretty good football most of the time over the years. So it's great to watch. The only thing I hate about Chelsea is the owner himself. Whenever they seem to do well, he likes to shoot himself in the foot, whether it's sack the manager or, oh, we've lost a quality player like Didier Drogba, but it's all right, it's fine, we've got loads of good players, and then it turns out to be a really bad decision. So, yeah.
Yeah, and because we're a bit behind schedule, the 8 o'clock game between Liverpool and Norwich has just kicked off. We'll keep you updated throughout the rest of his stream as to how that's going on. So yeah, but we'll move on now to who we've put in 5th place. Steak, take it away.
From one team I enjoy watching to a team I don't like watching the past few years.
See where this is going.
Boring Arsenal.
Oh, that's not where I thought you were going. Okay.
No, well, say for the early 2000s, Arsenal were great to watch, but yeah, Arsenal, sorry. But yeah, in 5th, they've struggled the past few years to say they're a big club.
Do you think it's a difficult one, really? I mean, with Arsenal, they've splashed out big money on highly rated Liga winger Nicolas Pepe from Lille. I think that is an excellent addition to their attacking options. Obviously, they got Lacazette and Aubameyang, who performed a lethal partnership last season. Mesut Ozil must be one of the most frustrating players to watch in all of the Premier League. When he's good, he can be fantastic, but for me, he goes missing far too often. To say he's on like 300 grand a week at Arsenal, let's put it that way. The problem for me with Arsenal is they once again seem to have neglected the defence. Now, they have signed David Luiz on deadline day and left-back Kieran Tierney from Celtic, who I think are good additions, but I still think they're lacking. Obviously, they lost Koscielny, who left in not very good terms, who probably for me has been their best defender for a while. Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from in regards to Arsenal. They're very frustrating to watch, and I think they're another team who really needs to improve their away form.
Most of the players in the Arsenal squad look tired or frustrated or angry. They don't seem to gel. If they did, I'd reckon they could compete for a Champions League spot, or even potentially the title. But it's just, they don't seem to gel. The manager, it doesn't feel like much has changed since Arsene Wenger left.
Yeah, it was let's replace
pretty much the same.
Let's replace Wenger with somebody who's very similar to Wenger.
It feels very much like that. It doesn't seem to be much change at Arsenal, and I think that's where the issue is. So
now, this is the first time we've differed in the top six so far, because I have not put I have backed Arsenal to finish in those Champions League spots. Obviously, you'll find out where in a little bit. In 5th place, and it hurts me a bit, but to miss out on a Champions League place, I have put Manchester United. My other team that I do follow quite a lot. Wow, and Snake's left the party. Wow, he's really offended by the fact that I put Manchester United outside the top 4, which is weird because I support him a lot more than he does. I'll just wait for him to rejoin and.
Sorry, left you to technical difficulties, but sorry, as soon as you mentioned a certain team, I just had to go.
I was going to say, I put Man United in 5th, I thought I was the one who liked them. Gonna say.
Sorry, PSN.
So yeah, I put Man United in 5th. Now, this was a big transfer window for me for Manchester United. There were a few things that needed to be sorted out. Some of which have been, some of which haven't been. Big things, big good things. First of all, we've kept David De Gea, we've kept Marcus Rashford. Two very important players to the future of Manchester United. I don't know how David De Gea is still sticking with us, to be honest, because he really has saved us a number of times. I think the signing
He's probably the best player in the squad.
Yeah, he had a bit of a loss of form last season, but the saying goes, form's temporary, class is permanent. I think he'll be back to his best this year. And we brought in Harry Maguire, who I think definitely strengthens the back four. I question how much we've paid for him, but I think that's just football these days.
United overpaying players? No.
No, there was an article that actually came out that about 4 years ago, David Moyes was going to buy Harry Maguire for $4 million, which is a little bit embarrassing when you look years later. It's quite similar to Pogba. We let him go for free and then buy him back years later for 80-odd million. But and that for me is where the negative start of Manchester United. I've got to be honest, I did not want to see Paul Pogba in a Man United shirt this season. I don't think he's a bad influence on the dressing room. I think he goes missing far too often. Yes, he contributed a lot of the goals and assists, but I felt like that was in games where it really wasn't important, and I don't know. I don't know if he was right to keep thing. We've also sold Lukaku.
I was gonna mention. Are you disappointed that you've lost Lukaku?
Oh, it's a really difficult one. A lot of United fans aren't disappointed, but I still think we could have done with him because a lot of the options we have up front now are pacey young players. We do lack a bit of a more physical presence up top, which I think Lukaku gave us.
I felt like, from my view, when he joined Man United, he wasn't the same player he was when he was at Everton. So I think the quality of his game went down a bit. But I do think you have lost a pretty decent player.
He still
and
scored.
If he finds his form, then you've definitely lost out.
Yeah, he still scored a good amount of goals, and I feel like he was made a scapegoat at times when there were other players that were more responsible for our bad performances. I feel like he was singled out a bit too much from United fans. I like the fact we're going with youth up front. Obviously, not just Rashford and Martial, but young Mason Greenwood is only 17. I think always definitely trying to integrate the academy more into the first team. Just to break away from that, Liverpool have just gone 1-0 up against Norwich in the Premier League after just 7 minutes. Not the start Norwich were hoping for.
And changing my prediction, putting Norwich in 20th.
Very early days. And let's be honest, even if we put Norwich in the top half, we still wouldn't have expected them to get anything out of this game tonight. So, yeah, good start.
I think the majority of people are expecting a Liverpool win tonight anyway. So.
Yeah, so that's... And let's not forget as well, it says 1-0 Liverpool at the moment, but VAR is in the Premier League this season, so who knows, they may be reviewing the decision. But keep you updated on that and who scored the goal as when the news comes in. Yeah, I think I'll put Man United in 5th place. I think we strengthened, but not enough. I like the signing of Wan-Bissaka
I've been more optimistic. I might as well mention this now, as
put
this is
fourth.
the next one, but I put them in 4th, yes.
Yeah. I expect... Yeah, it's going to be close to me, and to be fair, I might as well mention it now as well. I've put Arsenal in 4th, so just swapped them 2 around.
It could be fairly close between those two teams.
Yeah, I think it's just going to come down to how well I think Arsenal have got to improve. I think United have got to improve. It's going to be
two big teams that have a lot of potential, but they're just not finding it yet. I think with them two, they're quite similar. I think. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's weird to think that one time, like 10 years ago, these two dominated English football. But yeah, it's going to be a long road back for them, and I think they're both just trying to rebuild at the moment.
It'll take a few years, I think.
Yeah, and with Ed Woodward in charge of transfers at Man United, it could take a few decades. But I mean, my God, we needed about 7 signings this summer, and we only made 3. I like the signs we made, but I think we need them more. It'll be interesting to see how we get on. I think losing Ander Herrera as well to PSG is a big miss. I thought he was our best midfield player at times last year. I do think the midfield is where we're weak. Pogba is inconsistent. Matic is too slow. McTominay's good, but he's still young and inconsistent at times. So and Jesse Lingard is just one of those players you never quite know what you're going to get from him. So I do think the midfield was an area we needed strengthening, and we haven't done that. And yeah, so for that reason, I have put United just outside the top 4, but ahead of Chelsea. So it's an improvement. Let's put it that way. So yeah, now we've done that. It's down to the top 3 now. I've got a feeling we've both put the same team in 3rd place, but let's see who we put in 3rd.
Tottenham.
Yeah, same.
Probably one of the most obvious choices. They'll probably be stuck in 3rd with quite a bit of a gap between 2nd and 4th.
And any reason for not backing Liverpool to not backing Liverpool, backing Spurs to crash the top 2? It's because I was just looking at who scored the Liverpool goal.
I just Liverpool and Man City have very, very good quality players, and they work incredibly well together. Spurs, they've got a great team also, but I think the quality is just slightly lacking. It's being very harsh to Tottenham because the players they've got are great, but they're not Man City or Liverpool great. It's, if City and Liverpool were struggling, which they could easily do, Tottenham might be able to sneak in there and maybe compete for the Premier League title. I don't think they will. I think we'll see another 2-horse race again this season. So, yeah. They just need a bit more quality in the squad if they want to get a title.
Well, I'll give the owner some credit finally. He has finally brought some players in. For me, the reason why I haven't backed them to finish top 2 is because that bridge between 2nd and 3rd is quite big. And although they've strengthened, I don't think they're going to bridge that gap enough. They've bought in Tanguy Ndombele from Lyon, who's a very highly rated French midfielder. Lo Celso has also come in, he's very highly rated. And the young Fulham winger / left back Ryan Sessegnon has joined as well, who I think he's going to be a star in years to come. Obviously, they've kept hold of everyone as well. Kane, Son, that's crucial for Dele Alli, that's crucial for their success. Christian Eriksen, there's rumours he could still leave. Obviously, the transfer window is still open in the rest of Europe, so there is opportunity for players to leave, and I think Eriksen is one player who may leave, but I don't think he'll be hugely missed. I don't think he's done that well in recent seasons. So, and of course, let's not forget Tottenham did reach Champions League final last season. However, they did lose 13 Premier League games last year, and compared to City and Liverpool, that's quite a big gap.
Yeah, definitely.
But by the same token, I also think they're miles better than Arsenal, Man United, and Chelsea.
Agreed.
So
Yeah, they still have problems.
yeah, and it's good progress for Spurs as well. So I think they'll have a decent season. It's finally good that they're out of Wembley and in their own stadium now, as well. It's fair to say that.
That will probably help. Yeah, that will probably help.
Absolutely. By the way, just an update from the Liverpool game. The goal scorer was Grant Hanley own goal. Let's put Liverpool in front.
What a great first goal for a Premier League.
And Norwich have scored! Oh, I don't think that's going to be the last goal in that game, knowing what the two teams are like, but we'll have to see. We'll be watching that game very soon, because we're down to the top two now. And obviously, last season, Man City just about held off Liverpool, but Liverpool, of course, won the Champions League. So maybe you could say Liverpool had a better season overall. I don't know. It depends how you look at things. Obviously, City won the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup as well. So, big seasons for both teams. In a word, who would you put second?
Well, I know I haven't bigged up like the Premier League would be good this season because it can be predictable, especially with the top six. But one good thing about the Premier League is I don't think one team will run away with it. I think we'll probably see another two-horse race again between City and Liverpool.
You backed Liverpool last year.
I did back Liverpool last year. Then I went against it when they started bottling it. But it's going to be close. It was close last season, and I think it's going to be the same again. It's a really tough decision. Liverpool winning the Champions League is probably the reason why I'm going to put Man City in second. Yeah, I could see it going either way, to be honest. They're both very good quality teams with a lot of good players. I feel like Liverpool's got probably the qualities less than Man City's team, but I think Liverpool have a better team spirit, which is why I think they do so well. I would have said Liverpool didn't have a great season, but when they won the Champions League trophy, and they were very close to winning the Premier League as well, I think they had a very good season. So I'm going to put Man City in second.
Okay.
Just about.
Well, we differed last season as well, didn't we? Because we obviously I backed City last season and you backed Liverpool, and it's actually the same pattern as last season. I've backed Liverpool to finish second and City to win the league. It's a tough one. The reason why I've put Liverpool to be second, it's quite pure and simple. Actually, they haven't signed anybody, or they haven't signed anybody for the first team. They've signed a few youngsters, but I don't really think they're going to make a difference. For me, as good as they played last year, there was still one or two positions that I thought could have done with strengthening. I still think, as good as Liverpool's front three is with Salah, Firmino, and Mane, if any of those get injured, I worry that they don't have enough options in reserve. Which is an area I don't think City are lacking. I think they've got strength in depth, and City have added to their squad as well. The very good right back João Cancelo has joined. Midfielder Rodri, who's very highly rated, has joined as well. They signed a new left back as well. That's less exciting. It was only backup option for 10 million, but City have strengthened, whereas I'm not sure Liverpool have. And I think Liverpool will get stronger this season because I think they've got a lot of young players who are still developing. But I just think City are still that little bit too strong, and I think squad depth could be the key because obviously they'll be playing in a lot of competitions this year. And I just think the City have got that extra bit of squad depth where Liverpool lacking. So I think it's going to be close, but I'm just going for City again.
One thing that I've always doubted with Man City over the past few years is their consistency with results. They have a great squad, but for some reason, some weekends, the teams you expect them to beat, they don't necessarily beat. I don't know if it's because they're too overconfident or there's a bit of frustration or anger or whatever it is within the team. I feel like too many players could be a problem for them. You got to keep the players happy. They do have a good manager though, which has probably helped them last season because they didn't have too many poor results last season. I felt like if Liverpool did have a bad run at like the halfway point, and I felt like if they didn't have that, Liverpool could have easily have won the title. But,
I mean, we say like bad run, but it's astonishing really how many points they both got. I mean, you'd struggle to finish second with more points. It's.
I did think that like Man City did start pretty poorly personally for me for a team that wanted to obviously win the title. They did start pretty poorly, but then both City and Liverpool were just winning games constantly towards the end of the season. I don't think anybody really expected that. They were constantly, I don't know, like their last 10 games, I think they won pretty much all of them, which was impressive from both teams. If Man City get off to a good start, I think they'll be very, very tough to beat.
If there is one thing that's making me doubt my prediction, it is the loss of Vincent Kompany for City. It's not just the loss of Vincent Kompany; it's the fact I don't think they've really adequately replaced him. Which is
captain of the squad, obviously, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a goal update, by the way. It's Liverpool 2, Norwich 0. After just 18 minutes. It could be a long, long night for Norwich. So yeah, Kompany was a massive influence in that dressing room. I don't think that can be underestimated. And he scored that crucial goal that when they won 1-0 against Leicester, it pretty much set them up for the title. So it's a big miss. It is a big miss, but it is time for other players to step up as well. And I feel like they may utilise Kyle Walker as a centre back more this season, which was something that England have done in recent years. So it'll be interesting.
I felt like a lot of times last season, both Liverpool and Man City had some poor results against teams that you never thought would get a result against those two big teams.
Main one that sticks in my mind when you say that is when City lost at home to Crystal Palace.
Exactly. I don't think anyone expected that.
No, definitely not.
I still think obviously they'll still can show up and turn up on a bad day, and you know even the biggest teams can still have bad runs. They might end up having like 2 losses and a draw, and then they get back to winning again. But it's those points that make the difference. It's what cost Liverpool in the end.
Yeah, it's going to be so tight between us two. I'd be shocked if anyone can gatecrash that top 2, but you never know. Premier League it has become a bit more predictable, but you never know what can still happen. A special word though for one City player who has really impressed me in recent seasons, Raheem Sterling. The rate of improvement from him from a few years ago, I think, is incredible.
A few years ago, a lot of people slated him. I did, included, but it was harsh but fair for slating him because, to be honest, he didn't play well in the team that he was in. But City still backed him. They still expected him to play at his best. And literally the past year and a half, probably a bit longer than that, he's been on fire. Incredible. His pace is outstanding. His ball control is amazing. It's the only thing that he could probably work on a bit more is his finishing, but even then he's improving on that as well.
Yeah, that was always his big weakness.
He's a completely different player from what he was 3-4 years ago. I'd say 3-4 years for England as well. He's playing very well for England lately. Like 3-4 years ago, half the time if he was on the ball he'd lose it. He looked like he was out of his depth. He was lost, but he looks very confident with the ball now, and he's incredible to watch.
I think the way as well, I'd say a few years ago he was being carried by players around him, whereas at times in crucial games for City last year, he was almost carrying them to victory. It's all completely flipped around.
Absolutely. I'd be surprised if he has a poor season.
because I think he's found his rhythm now. I don't know what he's done exactly, but whatever he's doing, he should keep going with it because he's doing a fantastic job.
Absolutely. I think that pretty much brings end to our Premier League predictions video. Just to recap, I've gone for Manchester City to win a league. Snake's gone with Liverpool. Snake's 3 relegated teams. Can you recap those for me?
Yes. 18th Bournemouth, in 19th Newcastle, and in 20th Burnley.
I've gone with 18th Brighton, 19th Crystal Palace, and 20th Newcastle. The only team we've got common for relegation is Newcastle.
Not a huge surprise.
No, definitely not. Top 4, the only difference is I've gone with Arsenal 4th, you've gone with Manchester United. I sincerely hope you're right.
Again, it's 2 teams that it'll probably be a battle for 4th between Man United and Arsenal. I can see that.
And in terms of team most likely to break into the top 6, you've gone with West Ham. I've gone with Everton.
Yes.
It's weird. It's weird in the sense of we've actually gone a bit differently this time, which is good. Because we did this for the Championship, we'll end up with this for the Premier League. Now, obviously, we can't predict Liverpool Norwich because it's going on right now. I think we'd have both gone with a Liverpool win anyway. It's for fun. Let's go. Let's have fun. It's 2-0 after 20 minutes. Go on. What's your full-time score?
I'm gonna go with 4-0 Liverpool.
4-0 Liverpool. I'm gonna go with 4-1. I'll give Norwich a goal. I'll give Norwich a goal in the right net. By the way, the second Liverpool goal was scored by Mohamed Salah, so he's off for the season.
Yeah.
On to Saturday's games then. This is an interesting one based off what you said in the predictions. The early game tomorrow is West Ham against Manchester City. How are you seeing this one?
Tough game, but I'm probably going to go with Man City. Going to go with 2-0.
2-0, okay. I'm going to go 3-1 City. I think that West Ham will put up a good fight, but I felt City just have too much quality for them.
Pretty tough opening game for West Ham.
Absolutely.
Much tough, really.
I don't think the fans will be over disappointed if they lose. Obviously, they'll be hoping for more, but you know, it's not exactly a game that they pinpoint as a win. So
I consider it a victory for West Ham if they get a point. So
yes, we got a draw.
We are the best.
The start of the 3 o'clock kickoffs then. We'll be following this on Soccer Saturday, seeing as there's no Barnsley game for me to go home. No Barnsley game for me to watch. Yeah, after what Leeds Forest game. Sorry, we'll do Championship predictions as well. Actually, while we're doing this as well, might as well. Can't be any worse than our Week 1 predictions. But yeah, the next Premier League game.
I think I got one right.
The next Premier League one is quite an interesting one. It's Bournemouth against Sheffield United. How do you see that one going?
I'm going to go with 1-0 Sheffield United.
Ooh.
I think they'll start off pretty well. I think they'll get off to a strong start.
I'm going to go with 1-1. I'm going to say for the points to be shared in that one.
Okay.
Still a good result for Sheffield United. I think they'll take a point in the first game away from home. Next up, we mentioned how crucial Burnley's home form is. So here's one for you: Burnley at home to Southampton.
I'm going to go with 2-2.
Desmond. Yeah.
Which is not good for Burnley because they'd want to win. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for the draw.
I rate Southampton highly, but I don't know. This is a really tough one. I don't want to put a draw though.
Tell you what, the predictions for the first game of a season is probably the most difficult because it's been a while since we've seen all these teams and they've made a lot of changes.
Yeah, so we're going to nail these Week 2 Championship predictions.
Well, I hope they'd be better at least.
I'm going to go with 1-0 Burnley. I'm going to go for them to get off to a winning start at home. Next one is Crystal Palace against Everton.
Ooh. Tough game, that one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 2-1 Everton.
To Everton. It's weird. I backed Everton to do really well and Palace to not do well, but I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. I just feel like Palace.
Yeah, it's going to be close.
Everton have made a lot of changes to their squad. Could take them a few games to bed in, and Palace. I don't know. Palace, I think at home that's their best. The atmosphere at their ground is really good, and the team could hopefully get behind them in the opening game. So I'll go with a draw. Another toughie. Watford against Brighton.
We'll go with 1-0 Watford.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 2-0 Watford. Yeah, I just think I don't rate Brighton that highly, and I think Watford will start off where they left off last season. Although technically they left off last season with a 6-0 defeat to Man City in the FA Cup final, so maybe that's not the best analogy to use. But the late kickoff, which is on Sky by the way, could be an interesting game. This one, Tottenham against Aston Villa.
Yeah, definitely. I think the fact that Tottenham are playing at home will help. I'm gonna go with 2-0 Tottenham.
I'm fancying a goal fest here. I'm gonna say 3-2 Spurs.
A close one at that, to be honest.
Yeah,
So,
I think it could be a really good game, and I think Spurs will just have enough. But Villa, I think, will put up a good fight. Now, I'm not trying to sway prediction here for this one, but the first Sunday game sees Leicester take on Wolves. Now, Wolves have just come back from a Thursday night game in Armenia. Just saying.
even so, I'm going to go with 1-1.
1-1, okay. I'm going to go with 2-1 Leicester. Still think Wolves will push them close, but I feel Leicester just have enough. I'd be shocked if this one scoreline could be interesting, but I expect I know which way you're going to go with this one. Newcastle at home to Arsenal.
Yeah, we'll go with 3-0 Arsenal.
Ooh, yeah. Oh dear. I'm
Sorry,
going to go with
Newcastle.
3-1 Arsenal again. I think it's safe to say, not being biased, but I think you'd agree with me. This is a game of the weekend to end it off. Man United against Chelsea.
Yeah, that would be great to watch. Very tough prediction, this one. But I'm going to back...
Ole, 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 ole.
I could say Man United one day and Chelsea the other day between these two at the moment. You know what? I'm going to make it a goal fest. Let's go with 4-2 Man United.
Ooh. If it's a game like that, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, or it could be a ball fest and be 0-0.
Yeah, I can see goals being scored as well. I'm not going to quite as... I'm going to go for Desmond. I'm going to say 2-2.
Okay.
Not as much confidence in Man United as you have, which is weird, as I probably should have more, but... Yeah, well...
I think the fans can be sometimes the harshest critics, so...
Yeah, agreed. Speaking of fans being harshest crickets... Crickets?
Crickets?
Sorry.
Yeah, those crickets being really harsh and those spiders as well.
Oh, by the way, it's Liverpool 3, Norwich 0. Oh,
Yeah,
God.
what a way!
Yeah, we're only 28 minutes in.
Yeah, it might be 8-0 at this rate.
Yeah, Virgil, probably one of the best defenders in the world, Virgil van Dijk, with Liverpool's third goal. So yeah, onto the Championship. Speaking of fans being harshest critics,
Dear.
to speak, the early game in the Championship, of course, as you well know, tomorrow is Leeds United against your team and Nottingham Forest. What are you going with here?
Well, I was very confident in the first 10 minutes of Nottingham Forest versus West Brom, and it just went downhill from there. I have backed Leeds to win the league, so it won't feel right if I back Forest to win, and I didn't enjoy their performance in the first game.
I watched a bit of Leeds.
If Forest can find the form that they did in the first 10 minutes for the entire game, it could be very close. I just can't see Forest getting a result out of this, so I think Leeds will win. Gonna go with 2-0 Leeds.
2-0 Leeds. Yeah, I watched a bit of Leeds against.
As much as I hate to say it.
I watched a bit of Leeds against Bristol City. They were very impressive. Bristol City weren't great though, for what it's worth. But like you,
I
Forest.
feel like if Forest won the opening game, I'd have a bit more confidence and probably go with a draw or a win even. But I can't see it happening.
Once again, though, they've bought so many players, and it's going to take a while for them to bed in. I was actually quite confident for Forest ahead of this season. Confidence has dimmed a bit. Leeds are so good at the start of the season as well, like under this manager. I really want to give Forest something out of this, but I just can't.
I can't see it either, so I wouldn't blame you.
I'm going to go 3-1 Leeds. Going to go 3-1 Leeds.
The fact that we're going to get a goal is something I look forward to.
Yeah, you play really well in the first 10 minutes, score, and then go to shit again.
Probably. Yeah.
On to your favourite team, Snake. It's Birmingham, who host Bristol City.
I'm going to go with 0-0. It's either going to be 1-0, 1-1, or 0-0 with Birmingham for me. I'm going to go with 0-0.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 1-1. I'm going to give them a goal each. How nice of me.
That's quite entertaining for a Birmingham game.
Now, to be fair, this next team you actually watched last week, so you should have a decent amount of knowledge about them. And they were, unlike Birmingham, they were very entertaining. It's Luton, but they're away to Cardiff. Obviously lost on the opening day to Wigan. How do you see this going?
You go with 2-1 Cardiff.
On Cardiff. Were you impressed by Luton?
We're impressive though.
Yeah,
definitely.
Cardiff needs to bounce back though.
To be honest, before that game, I probably would have said probably 3-0 or 3-1 Cardiff, but I'm expecting it to be close because of how impressive Luton played. So they have swayed my decision. So,
okay. Yeah, I'm gonna. Surely Cardiff can't defend as badly as they did against Wigan. Neil Warnock teams don't tend to defend that badly, and I'm sure he'll have been very angry with them. Luton will score goals. I'm gonna go with. I'm really struggling here. It's a tough one. I'm gonna go with another Desmond. I'm gonna say 2-2. Luton really impressed me, and I just don't know if Cardiff are ready yet. I think they're still gelling a little bit. Next game. Now, team we back to finish rock bottom without any doubt in the world, and then obviously won their first game, Charlton. And they're at home to Stoke, who were not impressive and opening day. I backed Charlton to finish bottom, so surely I can't back them to win 2 games in a row. What about you?
No, I'm going to go with Stoke 2, Charlton 0.
Oh, wow. I'm going to go 2-1 Charlton.
Wow.
I just don't. Stoke was so poor on opening day, and I don't know. Charlton were pretty good, and they've made some decent signings in recent days. I'm not gonna lie, if I could make them predictions again, I probably wouldn't put them bottom anymore. Probably second bottom.
Yeah, I'm already having instant regrets about that, but you never know.
Yeah, I don't think Stoke have recovered after last season yet, but maybe Stoke will surprise me. But I'm gonna go with Charlton to win. Now, it's 2 teams that won on opening day, and obviously another team we watched, Derby, home to Swansea.
What team, sorry?
Derby. Home to Swansea.
Alright.
We watched Derby against Huddersfield. Were you impressed by them, or did you not really rate Huddersfield?
Yeah, I did watch it. Derby played pretty well.
Lawrence's goals were amazing.
They were amazing, yeah, I agree. Although I felt like Huddersfield could have played a bit better and give them more of a match. I'm going to back Derby to win, though. Let's go with 3-1 Derby.
3-1 Derby. Yeah, I'm gonna go 2-1 Derby. I think they're gonna win back-to-back games. Swansea, I think, will do have a solid season, but I don't expect them to do anything amazing. This next game's a weird one because I back both these teams to do pretty well, you know, in accordance to where you'd expect them to finish, sort of thing. But both of them were pretty poor on opening day, and I watched one of them. It's Fulham at home to Blackburn. Obviously, Fulham lost away to Barnsley on opening day, whereas Blackburn lost at home to Charlton. Both results you wouldn't have expected. Who are you backing to bounce back?
I think Barnsley gave Fulham a tough time. I'm going to back Fulham again. And go with let's go 3-0. I'm going to back them to do very well.
Poor start for Blackburn then.
Poor start for both of them, but
yeah,
I felt like Barnsley were a tough team to beat. So yeah.
Charlton were diabolical. No, I see what you mean. I mean, here's the thing. Surely Fulham can't start this slowly every season. They're making a really bad habit of it.
The fact that Blackburn haven't started very well themselves is making me back Fulham for the game.
I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. I don't know, Fulham. I don't know. For me, I think they're going to start slowly again. They're off a pace against Barnsley at times. They came back into the second half, and again they've signed more players. But I don't know. I think Blackburn have a lot of pace going forward, and that really seemed to hurt Fulham at the weekend. So yeah, I'm going to go for a draw. Two teams are lost on opening day. Two pretty uninspiring teams next. Hull versus Reading. It's not. I've got to be honest. Out of all the Championship games, this is the one I'm least bothered about.
So, which teams did you say again? Sorry.
Hull against Reading.
Ugh.
Yeah, see what I mean? It just promotes that kind of reaction, doesn't it? That game.
3-3.
Oh, 3-3 draw.
I'm gonna go 1-1. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. 1-1.
Okay. I'm gonna go 0-0. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's pretty much my feeling on the game.
Still being optimistic with 1-1.
Now, knowing what these two teams are like, I cannot see this next game being 0-0. And we watched one of them, Middlesbrough against Brentford. They're two teams that don't play for 0-0, especially Middlesbrough under Jonathan Woodgate, it seems. They were really attacking against Luton.
Agreed. I have more confidence in Brentford winning than Middlesbrough. So I'm going to go with 2-1 Brentford.
Let's be flat out honest here. Brentford-Birmingham was one of the weirdest games ever. Brentford dominated and Birmingham had one shot on one. It was one of those very weird games. Yeah. I think there's going to be goals in this. I still worry. Middlesbrough have sold more pace. I do think they're lacking a striker. Could lack for end product. I'm going to say 3-1 Middlesbrough. Sorry, Brentford. You'll probably win, though, to be fair. No, my predictions. Now, this is Preston against Wigan. Wigan have made a lot of signings in recent days, including Kiefer Moore of Barnsley. Preston, on the other hand, haven't made signings. And Preston were not good on opening day. Wigan were good. Do you see that trend continuing, or do you see it flipping?
It could be close. But Preston seem to have a good home record over the past few years, and I expect that to continue. So I'm going to go with 1-0 Preston.
I'm going to go with 1-1. I think Preston still... Well, I think for me they need signings, but it's too late now for that. I think they'll do well though, Preston. I think they'll bounce back well, but Wigan, to me, look a much tougher team than they did about 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, I'll go 1-1. I think Preston started slowly last season, so they do need to get a win sooner or later. QPR versus Huddersfield. QPR, for me, were actually one of the surprises in the opening game the season, winning at Stoke.
Yeah, and watching Huddersfield, I felt like they could have played better.
And they've lost their best player to Brighton as well. Aaron Moy. I feel we're both leaning towards a QPR win with the way we're talking here.
I don't know. Go on. I'm going to back Huddersfield. I'm going to go with 1-0 Huddersfield.
I'm going to go with 2-0 QPR. Sorry, Huddersfield. I really like though. I said QPR could be dark horses this season. In previous one thing I so far, I'm quite happy I went for. I don't know. I think they could be a really tough team this season. So yeah, I'm going to go QPR to make it 2 wins from 2. This is a tough one. It doesn't help that I support one of the teams in it. Sheffield Wednesday versus Barnsley. I'm going to let you predict this first, but I'll let you predict all of them first, but especially this one.
Tough game, that one.
Wednesday won 3-1 on the opening day. They are missing their first choice keeper there.
Who did they beat on their opening day?
Yeah, they won 3-1 at Reading.
Oh, okay.
Hey, you don't rate Reading clearly.
It wasn't a big team that they beat.
For what it's
I
worth,
was really impressed with Barnsley's opening performance. I'm going to go with 2-0 Barnsley.
I would be very happy with that. Our record at Hillsborough, for what it's worth, is atrocious.
It could only change then, surely, at one point.
Yeah.
One day.
I don't know, it just seems referee decisions seem to always go against us there. I'm going to go with 1-1. I'd be quite happy with a point, to be fair, same as I was against Fulham. I'd love 3 points, especially against Wednesday. Oh, that'd be amazing. But yeah, I think we'll give them a good game. I'm much more confident about our defence now than I was a week ago, before the Fulham game. So yeah, I think we'll do well. We've signed a few more players on deadline day who I think will strengthen us. Another player from Leeds. I don't know why we're buying Leeds' academy, but well, no, I really like the look of Wilkes. I'm eating my words. I'm fully aware. But he looks a really good player for us, and I just think he'll score in this game, and I think we'll get a late equaliser or something like that. I'll go 1-1. And yeah, the final game to end this live stream off is West Brom against Millwall. Did you rate West Brom highly, or were you more disappointed by Forest than impressed by West Brom?
Well, I'm always disappointed with Forest. West Brom, I don't know if it was the case of they played very well or Forest just completely lost it. I felt like they were a bit fortunate with the second goal, although the first goal I felt Forest could have defended a hell of a lot better, as well as the keeper. I don't know. I feel like West Brom had to work too hard to beat Forest. I'm going to back West Brom now because I feel like they're still a better side than Millwall. Let's go with 3-2 West Brom.
I'm going to go 3 as well for West Brom, but 0 for Millwall. I'm going to go 3-0 West Brom. Yeah, I know Millwall beat Preston on opening day, but I think that was a really poor game overall. West Brom have signed Charlie Austin, which I think is a great addition out front. Yeah, I think West Brom will comfortably win. I think I backed them to win the league. Let's not forget. So,
Of course.
so
Yes.
so I suppose I got to back that up. A goal update from Anfield. We're not even at half time yet.
Well done, Norwich.
Your prediction, Snake, is spot on. Just a shame there's another 47 minutes to go. It's 4-0 Liverpool.
Wow.
Divock.
We're really missing out on the goals here.
Yeah, we'll start watching it now, so then there'll be no more goals. Your prediction will be right.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a good place to end off this stream. Sorry, Norwich. And yeah, can't wait to see how our predictions get on. To those who watched, I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm thinking at some point I might do like an F1 sort of during the summer break. I might do like an F1 mid-season review thing as well. So yeah, that should be good. But we've got 4 weeks to do that, so could be a while yet. Alright, so yeah, that's been good, and yeah, bring on the football. I've already missed 4 goals already. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
How the hell do I stop a broadcast?